There's a strange silence that creeps into your life when you begin to ignore your feelings. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive with flashing lights or loud warnings. It just settles in like a shadow stretching slowly across your chest, growing heavier with every passing day. You don't notice it at first. You tell yourself you're just busy, just tired, just focused. But somewhere deep inside, something starts to tighten. Something starts to break. You convince yourself that it's better this way. Better not to feel, better to lock it away, but the truth is, what you bury doesn't die. It waits in the dark corners of your mind, in the quiet moments when you're alone, in the pauses between your distractions. And it grows, it feeds on your silence, it feeds on your denial, until one day it begins to speak. There are people who walk among us every day, carrying a weight that no one can see. They smile, they work, they laugh, but inside they are drowning. They have pushed their emotions so far down that they've forgotten what it feels like to really live. They think they've escaped pain, but what they've really done is build a cage. A beautiful cage with walls made of routine, achievement, and distractions. But no matter how strong those walls are, the storm always finds a crack. And when it does, it tears everything apart. You see, the cost of ignoring your feelings is never immediate. That's what makes it so dangerous. It's slow, it's quiet, it's patient. It waits until you're comfortable, until you've built your life around this silence, and then it strikes. It shows up as anger that seems to come from nowhere. It shows up as sadness that clings to you without reason. It shows up as fear, as anxiety, as emptiness that you can't explain. You try to push it away. You try to drown it in work, in entertainment, in anything that can keep you from hearing it. But it keeps knocking. It keeps rising, because feelings that are ignored don't disappear. They evolve. They find new ways to get your attention. People think strength means being unaffected. They think power comes from not showing emotion, from staying distant, from appearing untouchable. But real strength isn't in shutting your heart down. Real strength is in facing what you feel, even when it terrifies you. The moment you start ignoring your feelings is the moment you start losing control. You think you're controlling them, but they are the ones controlling you, quietly, silently. They guide your decisions in the shadows. They push you to say things you don't mean. They make you withdraw from the people you love. They shape your life without your permission. The human heart isn't designed to carry unresolved emotions. The weight accumulates, and over time, it crushes your spirit. It steals your energy, your passion, your joy. You wake up and everything feels heavy. You move through your days like you're wearing invisible chains. You convince yourself this is just how life is. But deep down, you know something is missing. That's the cost. You lose parts of yourself. You lose moments that could have been beautiful. You lose connections that could have healed you. You lose time that you can never get back. You look around and wonder why nothing excites you anymore. You wonder why you feel disconnected even when you're surrounded by people. You wonder why success feels empty, why rest feels restless, why love feels distant. It's because you've locked away a part of you that you desperately need. Your feelings aren't your enemy. They are your signal. They are your compass. They are the map pointing you toward what you truly need. Ignoring them is like throwing away the key to your own freedom. Some people live their whole lives like this, running, hiding, smiling while breaking inside. They become experts at pretending. Experts at appearing fine, but pretending doesn't heal. Pretending doesn't free you. It only delays the collapse, and the collapse always comes. It might come in the form of burnout. It might come in the form of broken relationships. It might come in the form of sudden, overwhelming sadness. It might come in the quiet moment when you realize you've built a life that looks perfect but feels empty. And in that moment, you will understand the price you've paid for ignoring your feelings. You will see the damage. You will feel the weight of everything you refuse to face. But you don't have to wait for that collapse. You don't have to carry this invisible burden for the rest of your life. The first step is the hardest. The first step is to stop running, to stop pretending, to sit with what you've been avoiding. It will hurt. It will shake you. It will bring emotions you thought you had buried long ago. But it will also bring clarity. It will bring relief. It will bring the beginning of your freedom. The feelings you've buried are not here to destroy you. They are here to guide you. They are here to teach you. They are here to set you free. You can't master your emotions by ignoring them. You master them by understanding them, by listening to what they are trying to tell you, by allowing yourself to feel without judgment, without shame. The cost of ignoring your feelings is too high. It steals your peace, your power, your purpose. But when you face them, when you begin to process what you've buried, you start to reclaim your life. You start to feel again, not just the pain, but the joy, the passion, the connection that makes life worth living. The dangerous cost of ignoring your feelings is not something you can see right away. But if you listen closely, if you pay attention to the quiet moments, you'll hear the sound of your own heart knocking, waiting, hoping you'll finally open the door. There is something deeply unsettling about feeling nothing. At first, it seems like a shield, a form of protection, a way to escape the sharp edges of life. You tell yourself it's better this way. You tell yourself you've outgrown the need to feel deeply. You start to believe that being numb is a kind of strength. You don't cry, you don't get angry, you don't get overly excited. You keep yourself steady, detached, calm. But what you don't realize is that this numbness is not protecting you. It's slowly erasing you. There is a cost, a silent price that you pay when you decide to shut down your emotions. The danger is that it doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow fade, a quiet death, a gentle slipping away of everything that once made you feel alive. You wake up one day and nothing moves you. The music that once stirred your soul now feels like background noise. The people you love start to feel like distant shapes. The dreams you once chased now seem irrelevant. You aren't sad, but you aren't happy either. You're somewhere in between, floating through life without really touching it. That numbness creeps into everything. It steals the color from your days. It silences the laughter. It makes even the most beautiful moments feel muted, like you're watching life happen to someone else. And the most dangerous part is, you begin to accept it. You begin to believe this is normal, that this is just how life is supposed to feel. You become so good at ignoring your feelings that you forget how to recognize them. When someone asks how you're doing, you give automatic answers. You say you're fine. You say you're busy. You say you're managing. But inside, you don't really know how you are because you've stopped checking. You've stopped looking. You've built walls so high that even you can't see over them anymore. You've silenced the parts of yourself that used to speak the loudest. And the silence grows louder than anything else. It becomes a way of life. When you numb the pain, you don't get to choose which feelings you block. You block everything. You can't selectively mute sadness and still hear joy. You can't shut out fear and still feel excitement. The door you've slammed shut to keep out the storm has also kept out the sunlight. You think you're safe, but you're just empty. And slowly, you start to drift away from yourself. You start to lose the fire that once burned in you. You start to move through life on autopilot, performing tasks, meeting expectations, going through the motions, but never really being there. People around you might not notice. You may still smile, you may still laugh, you may still achieve great things, but none of it touches you deeply anymore. The victories feel hollow, the connections feel fragile. And at night, when everything is quiet, you start to feel the weight of that numbness pressing against your chest, reminding you of everything you've locked away. You realize that you've spent so long trying not to feel pain that you've also forgotten how to feel alive. Somewhere along the way, you convinced yourself that your feelings were too much, that they were dangerous, that they were inconvenient. Maybe you were told to toughen up. Maybe you were taught that feelings make you weak. Maybe life handed you more pain than you could handle, and you decided the only way to survive was to stop feeling altogether. But now you're trapped in that choice. Now you're stuck in a life that feels safe but suffocating. You thought numbness would protect you, but all it's done is build a prison you can't see. The human soul was never meant to live like this. We are made to feel. We are made to laugh until we cry, to grieve what we've lost, to be afraid, to be thrilled, to be fully alive in every possible way. Emotions are not a problem to solve. They are a message to hear. They tell you when something matters. They tell you when something hurts. They tell you when something isn't right. When you ignore them, you ignore yourself. When you numb them, you numb your own life, and yet, stepping back into your feelings can be terrifying. After so much time spent running from them, facing them feels like stepping into fire. You worry you'll be overwhelmed. You worry you won't know how to handle what you find. But the truth is, the feelings you've buried are not here to destroy you. They are here to free you. They are here to show you who you really are beneath the layers of numbness. They are here to remind you that you are still alive, that you still care, that you still dream, that you still feel. Reconnecting with your emotions isn't about letting them control you. It's about allowing yourself to be honest with what's inside you. It's about sitting quietly with your pain and realizing it won't break you. It's about feeling joy without guilt, feeling sadness without fear, feeling anger without shame. It's about understanding that all emotions, even the uncomfortable ones, are part of what makes life real and meaningful. The slow killer of emotional numbness doesn't always announce itself with loud breakdowns. Sometimes it shows up as a life that feels perfectly fine on the surface, but is hollow underneath. It shows up as a quiet resignation. It shows up as lost passion, as distant relationships, as an endless search for something that can wake you up again. The only way back is through. The only way to feel alive again is to walk straight into what you've been avoiding. It's to open your heart to the parts of yourself you've silenced. You are not here to live half a life. You are not here to walk through your days like a ghost. You are not here to simply exist. You are here to feel, to connect, to care, to love, to lose, to rise, to keep moving even when it hurts. The cost of staying numb is too great. It robs you of the moments that could have changed you. It robs you of the depth you were meant to experience. It robs you of the people who could have touched your heart if you had only let them in. You don't have to stay numb. You don't have to keep pretending. You don't have to keep living behind walls. The door is still there. The path back to yourself is still waiting. It begins with a choice. The choice to stop running. The choice to start feeling again. The choice to step back into your own life and leave it fully, with all the joy, all the pain, all the beauty it has to offer. The numbness doesn't have to be your story. You can feel again. You can come back to life. You can come back to yourself. There always comes a moment when you can no longer outrun what you've buried. It doesn't arrive with a warning. It doesn't come at a time that feels convenient. It sneaks up on you when you least expect it, when you've built your life in a way that seems to have kept the past locked away, when you believe you've finally figured out how to stay numb without consequence. But life has a strange way of forcing you to face what you fear. Sometimes it's a sudden heartbreak that shatters the illusion of control. Sometimes it's the collapse of a friendship, the loss of a job, or the quiet realization that you no longer recognize yourself. And in that moment, everything you've ignored, everything you've silenced, everything you've buried deep inside rises to the surface, uninvited and impossible to push away. There is a storm that builds inside you. It begins as a whisper, a quiet discomfort, a restlessness that you can't explain. You try to silence it with distractions, with work, with endless scrolling, with noise, with anything that can keep you from hearing what your heart is trying to tell you. But the storm does not go away. It grows louder, it grows stronger, it refuses to be ignored. It shows up in the ache in your chest when you're alone. It shows up in the hollow feeling when the things you used to love no longer bring you joy. It shows up in the tension in your body, in the weight pressing on your shoulders, in the tears you fight back for reasons you can't even name. You've reached the turning point. You've reached the place where you can no longer escape. And now you have a choice. You can run again. You can try to numb it all over again. You can bury yourself in busyness, in other people's expectations, in temporary comforts. You can put on the mask, the smile, the false strength. But if you do, you know you will end up right back here over and over, because what you resist will never stop chasing you. The feelings you've been avoiding are not your enemy. They are your signal. They are life trying to pull you back. They are your heart begging you to finally listen. You can keep avoiding them, but you will lose pieces of yourself each time you do. The longer you run, the heavier the burden becomes. Or you can face it. You can sit in the discomfort. You can allow the waves to crash over you without trying to escape them. You can finally let yourself feel the sadness, the anger, the disappointment, the fear that you've locked away. It will hurt. It will shake you. It will make you question everything you've been holding together. But it will also begin to free you, because pain that is faced begins to heal. Pain that is buried only grows. There's a strange kind of courage required to face what you feel. It's not loud. It's not something others will always see. It's a quiet decision. It's the moment you stop pretending you're fine. It's the moment you let the walls crack just enough to let the truth come through. It's the moment you realize that strength was never about pretending you don't feel. It's always been about having the bravery to face what you do feel. Most people are afraid of this battle because they think their emotions will consume them. They believe if they open the door, they'll drown in what comes rushing through. But the truth is, the feelings you've buried are not a flood meant to destroy you. They are a river you've dammed for too long. When you allow them to move, they carry you somewhere new. They carry you to understanding. They carry you to healing. They carry you to yourself. There is a reason you buried these feelings. Maybe you thought you weren't allowed to feel them. Maybe you thought they made you weak. Maybe you thought they would destroy you if you let them out. Maybe the people around you taught you to hide your heart. But you are not the same person you were back then. You are stronger now. You are capable of sitting with your emotions without being defined by them. You are capable of holding your sadness without becoming it. You are capable of feeling your anger without letting it control you. You are capable of grieving without being trapped in the grief forever. Facing your emotions is not a sign of collapse. It's the first step toward rising. When you face what you fear, you begin to realize that your feelings were never as dangerous as you thought. It's the running that made them feel unbearable. It's the resistance that made them grow larger in your mind. When you sit with them, when you feel them fully, you see that they move, they pass. They do not stay forever. But what does stay is the clarity, the freedom, the lightness that follows when you no longer have to carry the weight of avoidance. This is not an easy path. It is not a quick one. Some days you will want to turn back. Some days you will feel overwhelmed. Some days you will miss the false safety of numbness. But every time you choose to face yourself instead of running, you take back a little more of your power. You take back a little more of your life. You start to rebuild trust with yourself. You begin to see that you can handle whatever you feel. You begin to understand that emotions are not something to fight. They are something to understand, something to move through, something to learn from. There comes a moment when life no longer allows you to hide. That moment is not your punishment. It is your chance. It is the invitation to step into your own life fully, to feel it all, to stop drifting through the days like a ghost of yourself. The battle is not easy, but it is necessary. It is how you return to yourself. It is how you begin to feel again, to hope again, to love again, to live again. You may not know how to do it perfectly. You may not know what you'll find when you open that door, but you will find something real. You will find something true. You will find the parts of yourself you thought were gone forever. You will discover that the feelings you feared the most were not here to break you. They were here to wake you up. They were here to remind you that you are still alive. And in that discovery, you will begin to move forward, no longer driven by what you're running from, but guided by the strength you've found by facing it. This is the turning point. This is where everything begins to change. This is where you begin to reclaim your life. When you finally reach the place where you decide to stop ignoring your feelings, a strange silence falls over your life. It is not the silence of numbness, but the silence that comes when you've stripped everything down to the truth. There is no more pretending. There are no more masks. You are left with who you really are, raw and unguarded. At first, it feels like you're standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure of how to step forward, unsure if the ground beneath you will hold. You've spent so long believing that avoiding your feelings was the only way to survive, and now, facing them feels like stepping into a completely unfamiliar world. You've grown used to the weight of what you carry. You've grown used to the ache of holding back tears. You've grown used to the emptiness that comes from silencing your own heart, and now you are faced with the terrifying question of what comes next. What happens when you start to feel again? What happens when you begin to let life touch you again? The process is not as dramatic as you might expect. It is not a sudden flood that knocks you over. It is a slow and quiet unfolding. It is allowing yourself to sit with memories you've locked away without rushing to push them aside. It is giving yourself permission to cry without shame, without apology. It is noticing the subtle ways your body has held your pain-tight shoulders, clenched fists, shallow breaths, and gently releasing it. It is learning to be present in your own skin again, learning to trust your own heart again. It is recognizing that your emotions are not here to destroy you. They are here to guide you. There will be moments when the old patterns will call you back. You will feel the urge to shut down again. You will feel the temptation to retreat to the safety of numbness because it feels familiar, because it feels easier. There will be times when facing your feelings will make you question if you're strong enough to handle it. The pain you've buried might come back with sharp edges, and it might scare you. But you must remember that what is painful is not what is dangerous. What is dangerous is pretending it isn't there. What is dangerous is pushing it deeper and deeper until it consumes you from within. What is dangerous is building a life that looks good on the outside but feels hollow inside. There is a strength in allowing yourself to break. There is a power in surrendering to what you feel. When you allow yourself to feel, you begin to reconnect to the parts of yourself that you thought you had lost. You start to see beauty again, not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because you are finally present enough to notice it. A simple sunset, the sound of rain, the warmth of someone's voice, the quiet connection in a shared glance. These things begin to touch you again. The dullness begins to fade. The spark begins to return. You begin to understand that living fully is not about constant happiness, but about being fully engaged with whatever life brings. You will learn that emotions come in waves. Sometimes they are soft and gentle. Sometimes they crash over you with a force you didn't expect. But every wave eventually passes. No feeling lasts forever. You don't have to fear them. You don't have to fight them. You simply have to ride them, to let them come, to let them go. You begin to trust that you are capable of handling the intensity of your own heart. You begin to trust that you are resilient enough to move through sadness without being consumed by it, to experience anger without losing yourself to it, to feel joy without fearing it will disappear. There is something profoundly liberating about choosing to stop hiding from yourself. You no longer have to keep building walls to protect yourself from your own truth. You no longer have to exhaust yourself pretending to be okay when you're not. You can speak honestly. You can live honestly. You can allow yourself to be seen for who you truly are. And that is where connection begins. Real connection does not come from perfection. It comes from authenticity. It comes from vulnerability. It comes from being willing to stand in front of someone else without your armor, without your carefully crafted mask, and saying, "This is me as I am." And when you live this way, something beautiful happens. You begin to attract people who meet you at that depth. You begin to form relationships that are built on truth, not performance. You begin to experience a kind of freedom you never thought possible. You no longer have to fear your own heart. You no longer have to fear the intensity of what you feel. You begin to embrace all of it, the joy, the grief, the love, the disappointment, the excitement, the fear, as part of what it means to be fully alive. The cost of ignoring your feelings is that you miss all of this. You miss the depth. You miss the connection. You miss the richness of life. But when you choose to feel, when you choose to step back into your emotions, you reclaim it all. You begin to write a different story for yourself. You begin to heal, not by erasing the past, but by integrating it, by learning from it, by allowing it to shape you without defining you. There will still be hard days. There will still be moments when you wish you could go back to the safety of numbness. But now you know the truth. Now you know that safety was a cage. Now you know that you are strong enough to walk through the fire without being burned. Now you know that you don't have to run from your feelings, They are not here to punish you, they are here to teach you. And in the quiet moments, when you catch yourself feeling something deeply, whether it's joy, sadness, gratitude, or even pain, you will realize that you've come back to life. You will realize that you are no longer a ghost moving through your own story. You are here, you are present, you are alive, and that is where your true power begins. Not in the absence of emotion, but in the courage to feel it all.